exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
Because I think if anyone gets to any point in their life where they're not puzzled by something, get puzzled.
Oh yeah, if you're not puzzled, you're lazy.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm your daughter. Coming at you with another episode of Briggs & Co., where we leave average for Joe. This week, I brought on my father, James Gibbons, who has been a CEO for many multi-million-dollar organizations. He is an entrepreneur, and he is an artist, woodworker, and sculptor. He is nothing short of incredible, and I'm so proud to be his daughter. It was super fun to chat with him about his childhood. And selfishly, I got to find out about why I am the way I am, which was pretty cool. It's a Father's Day episode, and it is me sharing my love and gratitude for the figure that he is in my life. I think all listeners will be able to relate to certain components of this episode and pull some inspiration from his story, because it is really remarkable from where he grew up and the little parenting and support he had to where he took his career and where he is now. It is an absolute honor to introduce you all to my father, James Gibbons. Well, hello.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, et toi?
Ça va, ça va.
How long have we been doing that for?
I want to say it's coming up on 25 years.
Is that really how old I am?
How close are we?
Spot on.
Really?
Spot on nose, buddy. How's it going?
No, awesome. Just finished doing some weed whacking.
Tarps off?
Nope, too windy.
Too windy. Day, Papa.
Thank you for being my daughter.
It's a gosh dang pleasure. I invited you on Briggs & Co. because I think at the root of it all, I learned leave an average for Joe from a couple individuals in my life, but I do have to owe a lot of that to you.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
It's yet to be determined whether that's a good thing or not. Good so far.
So, all right. This is the first. So I'm excited.
I am too.
I want to get to know you a little bit because I think selfishly I want to get to know myself.
Fair enough.
If you don't mind, I think listeners, if I can be so bold to assume, they're going to be interested in this podcast because they can relate. Most will have either a father or a father figure, and it's always cool in my eyes to learn and expose ourselves to other perspectives and other things that are happening around and other relationships. And I think this is a little insight into our relationship, which I value so much. So with all that being said, I want to get to know James Gibbons, Briggs Gibbons' father, at when he was a young soul. If you can just open my eyes up to who you were, kind of from the time period of maybe, I don't know, grade 7 to graduation. If that's too big, I don't know.
Well, I didn't graduate, so that's a problem right there.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually only host guests that
and
do
we're
have
done.
that. Yeah.
No,
Sorry about that, listeners. I will. I'll repay for sure.
I finished grade 10 and part of grade 11.
And may I ask why?
Yeah, I got kicked out.
Okay.
Because
like physically just kicked right in the
arse? Got the boot. It started. What did it start? It was in would have been the beginning of grade 11. Math class. I was wearing a baseball cap, and the teacher was adamant that I don't wear a baseball cap. And as a young teenage male, that was going to be unacceptable because my hair was horrible. And so I chose to get kicked out of the class, which meant I had to go see the VP. And he said, you either go back and take your hat off or you get out. I said, okay, I'm out. And then I was playing football at the time, so I went to, I think it was a Friday night football game. Me and a buddy went to watch one of my other good friends play football. And we'd had a couple of pops and getting a little boisterous in the crowd. And the same VP was there, vice principal, that is. And he told me to shut up and sit down. And I said, we were at an away game. I said, I'm not on school property or school time. I don't have to do what you tell me to do. He said, I want to see you in the office on Monday morning. So went to school Monday morning, went into his office. He said, you are no longer a student at the school until you bring your mother back and we sit down and have a conversation. So I went home and I said, Mom, they kicked me out of school and they're not going to let me back in unless you come in and we sit down. And she said, nope, not going. So I went back the next morning and I said, my mom refuses to come. He said, then I'm refusing to let you back in school.
So a hard lesson for a child, but hands tied because mom wouldn't step in. That's
Oh,
an interesting, complex
I accept full
scenario.
responsibility. I mean, I was a rather troublesome young child. I was mischievous and I was curious and I was rebellious and my
Okay, but wait, you're
Mhm.
holding back, and that's not what this is for.
Oh,
So I need a little insight into how mischievous. Can you give me one, maybe two? Dare I ask for two?
well,
Horror story.
this is a PG
It
podcast.
is, yeah. You'll have to filter. You'll
Okay,
have to filter through. Um, but I need something to visualize on how mischievous you might have been.
okay. So I was creatively mischievous, um,
Fair.
in the way that I sort of pushed back against authority a lot. And to give you an example, and I won't go into details, but you know how you have school counselors?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a high school counselor, Mr. Bover. I was playing volleyball because I'd come from a small town. Anyways, go to a high. There was more people in my high school than there was in the entire town I grew up in. But so I get there and I'm on the volleyball team, and Mr. Bover, who was a school counselor, also coached junior football. And he came up to me in the washroom and said, I want you to try it for the football team. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. Long story short, I think it was about 8 months into grade, no, it would have been about 4 months into grade 10 because we moved halfway through grade 10 out to a little town called New Sarepta and then moved back in
This is
before the
Alberta.
yeah
Yeah.
before the end of grade 10. And by the end of grade 10, the last conversation I had with the school counselor slash my football coach was, and bear in mind what a school counselor's responsibility is with regards to helping students navigate high school and prepare them for beyond. Asked me to meet him outside the library after school for a fight.
The counts.
Yep. So, so
He just needed
yeah.
a little boost, or
Well, I think what if I was to, as a third party objective listener, what I would take away is Jim must have been a pretty crappy kid for the school counselor to want to fight him.
I don't I don't quite know. Is this counselor around what your age would have been right now?
No, he would have been probably in his 40s. I'm
Okay.
56.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's different times. I mean, a little bit of change, little bit has changed. I wouldn't go too far to say like drastically in society up
Yeah,
until that point, but
well, same,
no,
same, just different.
yeah, just slightly. Right. So okay. And And now I'm trying to go, okay, so that's why I'm the way I am. No, no, nope. Um, no, but that's why you are who you became as a father to me, and I think that also is valuable to consider. So let's jump
Well, I
into.
think if I could just say, if I had to apply any of sort of what I once was at a certain stage in my life, and still there is characteristics of that person that still reside within me, and it's the to be curious and not just take what everybody tells you to do
Mm,
as gospel, and you can question things and you can push back and go, I don't have to follow the rules. If
mm.
somebody says this is the only way you can get to where you need to go, inside I go, no, there's probably some other paths you could take.
Okay, so I'm gonna, because that just brought up something that reminded me of when you coached not Pee Wee. What was the age group level that you coached for football?
I coached, yeah, I coached Pee Wees, and then
Okay.
uh, the Bantam team recruited me to come in because I was coaching Calum, your brother, my son, at the time, and they recruited me to coach the Bantam team.
Okay, and so if there was a child that pushed back, what would be your reaction?
Well, it would be on two different levels. One would be, are they questioning me, like in a constructive way? Like, are they asking me a difficult question? And that would be fine. Or if they're just being lazy, there's two different ways to push back. I don't want to run laps today.
Mm,
Oh, really?
mm.
Your entire team is running laps.
Now you're
If
running today and tomorrow.
you're going to run until the end of practice or
Yeah,
you puke.
yeah,
Um, but if they came to me and went, I don't think this play or this play could work differently if we did this. Okay, now we're talking.
right.
So there's different ways to push back, and there's different ways to accept that sort of resistance to something versus
Mm.
just being lazy and
Okay, so
yeah.
I coming into then, because that was what, graduation, so didn't graduate, so then post, I guess, post that chapter in your life.
Mm-hmm.
um you as a young adult, I know bits, I know here and there, but I would like to connect more dots. So tell listeners about you as a 17, 18, 19-year old.
Okay, so shortly after the eviction from my secondary education, um, for some reason, Grammy Emmy thought I should no longer live with her. So I would have been 16, I think. And I had a cousin Bob who was an RCMP, lived in Stony Plain, and he agreed to let me live with him and his newlywed wife at that time. So I went out to Stony Plain and lived with him and pumped gas at a Husky Happy Mart, which is still there. I drive by it regularly with fond smiles and memories. Um, and then moved back into the city, lived with a friend who was just finishing high school, one of the guys that I played football with and had, he was one of my best friends. And we went off on a variety of adventures. We went to, we took a bus and went up to in the middle of, they dropped us off at Hay River in the Territories. We took a backpack, a bag of flour, some butter, some rice, our fishing rods, and we hiked into the wilderness in the Northwest Territories and spent
And was Survivor auditions like, was that a hard process for you to undertake, or?
no, no, it was, we had one 30-30, a 22, two fishing rods, some tackle, a tent, and we spent a couple of weeks out there going, yeah,
Let's
living
learn some crap.
living living naked and afraid is
Yeah.
literally being naked and afraid. And knowing that there is not an abundance of wildlife available at every turn. Um, so yep, so did that, and then came
So
back.
did
I
you
went
actually go like what was the bulk of your food? Was it that bread and water or was it the
and fish.
and fish? Okay.
Yeah,
And fish.
we like the closest thing we saw to an animal was a squirrel, and I just
Meaty?
you know what? They're too bony for me.
Yeah, okay.
From oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I because I'm right there with you. I'm in the hunting mindset right now.
Mhm.
Are you literally starving or do you have enough that you brought with you to get by for the first chunk?
Oh yeah, no, we didn't starve.
Okay.
We honestly, I think we brought a 5 pound bag of flour, so we made bannock. Um, we had some rice with us, a little bit of butter, and fish, and it was in the frying pan, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I never went hungry at all
Okay.
because always been a fairly good fisherman. I fished since I was a young kid.
Oh, don't push it.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, then I came back and I went down to Calgary. I lived with my sister Tracy, and I worked doing roofing on Mount Royal College and also on the airport.
Mm.
And then my nana, when she passed, I would have been about 15 when she passed, and I think it was when I was 18 I got an inheritance, which was I think around $9,000 at the time,
Mm.
and I was like, I'm buying a Jeep. I have money now. I can buy a 1980 CJ7 Laredo with a soft top and a hard top and leather bucket seats and a nice sound system.
And I'll see
And
you frickin' later.
yeah, life's gonna be great.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I went, and because we used to go to Esmeralda's, Ezzy's it was called, at Kingsway in Edmonton, Alberta, and we used to go every Wednesday and Thursday throughout high school because it was $5 all you could drink draft, and we were playing rugby and football at the time, and the
Just
bar
guys
the
being dudes.
yep, just dudes playing dudes being other dudes,
Yeah.
and and the bartender had exactly that Jeep for sale. So I negotiated with him. I was going to buy it, and I was going to buy it because that was a Friday. I was going to buy it on the Monday. The Monday, I went to the student travel on NAIT campus, and I bought a Eurail pass, and I bought an open-ended return ticket from Europe, and I went to Greece.
Athens?
Yeah, yeah, that's where I
Yeah.
started. Yeah,
Oh
by
my. So this is you as a 20-year-old? No.
no, I was 18, 19, 18.
Would you, somebody came to you today and asked recommendations, male, 18-year-old, similar lifestyle, similar way brought up, would you tell them to do what you did?
I think it should be mandatory
Hmm. What makes you say that?
because it exposes you. Because I didn't just go to Greece, like it was. I didn't go for a 2 week vacation. I was there. I was overseas for 6 months and just traveling with a backpack. I had never been outside. I'd never been to the U.S. I don't think I'd ever been out of the province other than to my aunt and uncle's in Saskatchewan.
Hmm.
And I literally went with a pair of cowboy boots, a pair of sneakers, some blue jeans, and a backpack with underwear and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so what it did, that absolutely changed my life. I was
And did you know it
exposed.
at the time? Like,
No,
because you know what I mean? It's like those moments I don't think people realize how valuable, I mean, I'm speaking for myself now, but how valuable they are until they become valuable to them 20 years, 10 years ahead. But did you know it at the time?
I had, that wasn't my intention, was to have this, life changing, life altering experience. I had, when I was growing up, I saw a movie called Summer Lovers, and it was about this young guy that ends up going to Greece, and he goes to Santorini, and he meets this, beautiful young lady, and she turns out to be a princess, and they hook up and enjoy each other's company.
PG,
And
sorry, just PG.
yep, that's why I
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
they, frolicked and had
Yeah.
fun in the Aegean, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I have to see Santorini. And so that was always from, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. That was always in the back of my brain.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I knew that I was going to get to Santorini. And so I ended up going to Athens, and I didn't know how I was going to get to Santorini. I bought the Eurail pass, which gets you on the trains all the way up through France, Italy, Germany, wherever you want to go. But I had run into a young fella that went to Western University,
Yeah.
and he said, I just came back from Egypt. And he described what I think I was sitting in I think I was by the Parthenon, and we were sitting there yakking, and he said, I just came back from Egypt. It was absolutely amazing, the pyramids. And I was like, I'm going to Egypt. So I had spent, I think I was about a week and a half in Athens. And so the next day I went and bought a plane ticket to Cairo and went to Egypt and spent some time in Egypt and in the Sinai. And then I went to a little Bedouin village on the Red Sea and climbed Mount Sinai, slept underneath a little tiny rock mosque underneath the corner of it.
Mm.
And then went to kibbutz in Israel. And
Is this with your friend?
no, I was on my own.
Mm.
Yeah, left on my own. I met people along the way, and I found out there's a massive subculture of people that were traveling, just young people traveling and
Dare I
staying.
say gypsy?
Yeah, but it like people with similar, and I met a lot of Australians and Brits, some Yugoslavians, and they were just young people, and that was part of their culture. Like at the time, especially the Australians I ran into and New Zealanders, like it was when you left high school before you went to your next stage, they traveled.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that the truth, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't want to know if we should get into the weeds of it, but I think it's an economic thing in terms of, um, you know, government trying to get money. I don't know why it's so forced for you to jump straight into post-secondary because of the money that's around that. Because I want to know the stats on how many people go in right out of high school and come out with the exact degree that they went into, or no pause, no break, no bumps along the way. Like I want to know stats
I
on that because I
I
think
know, like, just I can't give you stats, and I don't have a producer that can Google it for us unless you do. But here's what my life experience has I know very few people that went into post secondary, came out with what they went in for, and went straight to the job they wanted and
yeah,
love it, let alone anybody that actually went straight into. Like I know people with zoology degrees that are landscapers,
yeah,
and they're as happy as pigs in poop.
yeah.
But I
No, it's true.
yeah, yeah. So, and
Um,
I get back to the original question. So I didn't know why I was going. I mean, I had some incentive. Going alone was scary as all get out. Landing in a country where you don't speak their language, and getting exposed to different countries, different cultures, the way people work and live and socialize in all of those different cultures. I came back an absolutely reformed human being,
mhm.
and I met my wife on Santorini.
Oh, sorry. Just one more time for the people in the back.
I met my wife in Santorini on
You
that trip.
sure did.
Yep.
Um, Thank you for sharing. I think I'm as you're talking, I'm reflecting because with my moments of travel, there's no price tag actually that you could even put on that experience or the lessons learned.
Mm.
Um, and I always say to those that to those, like it's plural, to one human being probably that has ever asked me for my advice. Um, it would be like you said to just one way ticket or whatever return ticket, go somewhere that you haven't been in a culture that is not like yours. Um,
And
and
I
and
and I grew up in like an hour east of Red Deer, Alberta, in the middle of nowhere, where like just pure farm town with less than 1,200 people total.
yeah. Um, and then I want to now, because you're at the age at this point in your life where I think maybe around 20. Is this where you are right now?
Yep.
Okay, so a chunk of years between 20 and 25, highs and lows. And yeah, I want to leave it open ended.
You want some context for those years?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I came back and I was bouncing in Edmonton. I was bouncing,
That's good
tumbling.
cardio. That's not
Yeah.
bad. I hear because there's a new act that honestly they just patented a new trampoline. So maybe you're onto something.
Yeah. I was bouncing beside a door at a nightclub.
Cool.
And so what I got was I got to meet people and I got my cardio. Um, and
And
learned,
strength training.
yep, and learned how to negotiate with people at different stages of inebriation, and uh,
Can I get the
all the
origin of that word? Sorry.
so inebriation is people that have imbibed in different forms of substance, mind altering substances.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, so I was bouncing, and your mother, the love of my life, had come back some months before me, and I went to Calgary because both my sisters were living in Calgary, and we surprised her. She was going to university and working two jobs, one of which was a cashier at Safeway at the time, and surprised her. And then I ended up moving to Calgary and bouncing on Electric Avenue, which to listeners locally, they'll recognize similar to White Avenue.
Hmm.
To other listeners, it's a street with a bunch of bars on it.
The place.
The place, yeah. Wherever your town or city is, you know where the place is, where all the bars, and it's the hottest spots to go. That's where I ended up working. Um, Fast forward a couple of years, and my beautiful bride and I are living together, and we have a young child on the way.
Can
We
I
get married.
pause? How did you propose?
I kneeled down beside the bed when I had come back from work, and she was sleeping, and I woke her up and I said, "Will you marry me?"
So I've been giving it some thought, and you know what? I think right now is the time to ask. Um, was she pleasantly surprised?
I want to say she was ecstatic.
Bold.
Yeah, yeah, no, I want to believe that she was as much or more elated than I was.
Hmm. Okay, daughter on the way.
Yeah. Now things are serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now there's a third party involved.
Yep. Now I have to be a responsible adult. And so my brother was working at a toxic waste facility in Swan Hills, Alberta, which is 3 hours, 2.5 hours north of Edmonton. So 5.5 hours north of Calgary, maybe 6 hours. And I managed to convince him to get me a laborer's job at the plant. And so went up there, started working. had to work as a contractor, so you don't know if you're going to be on next week or not. But
so listeners in the entertainment world can relate to that.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. So it was week to week, check to check, living in somebody's basement, trying to, make a name for yourself at the plant and show, if you worked hard and kept your nose down and kept it clean, and you would, the idea, the carrot was always you'll get a gig. And it did just that. Like, I think I had a chainsaw and I cut up pallets. Like, there was mountains of pallets. I mean, think of your average house, like 10 mountains of pallets that I chopped up with a chainsaw and put into these, steel drums and cardboard drums for weeks on end. And eventually somebody left or somebody got fired, and there was a temporary position as an operator. And I got the plug, so I got the full-time gig, had a regular paycheck, started working as an operator. So, to your listeners, that would be, you got a steady job. You can see a bit of a future. You can start to plan. And then Lisa and young Jordan moved up to Swan Hills. We lived in a trailer in the trailer park. And then a couple years in, I started studying for my fourth class. So back then there was no internet. This would have been early 90s. And so I would get my courses, of course, via correspondence. So you'd get a package in the mail and you'd fill it out, do
Courier pigeon?
Yep, exactly. And send it back in, and you're working night shifts, day shifts. You'd work 4 on, 3 off, 12-hour shifts.
And were you doing coding, or what were you doing?
No, I was a plant operator, so process operator, working. I would run equipment, working on because we incinerated everything, so working around the kilns.
Yeah.
Loading waste into feeder systems, decanting drums. You're in full hazmat gear, breathing air. And I also went on and I was the captain of the emergency response team. So we did high angle rescue, confined space rescue, in Class B industrial firefighter. All of those sorts of things, and got my fourth class power engineering. Ended up running the panel for the kilns, running a crew.
Just racking up the resume, was this a motivation that you knew that you had? Because to me, from just listening to this, there is no lack of motivation for you to just keep building and growing and learning. Was that something you were aware of?
Well, I think in retrospect, looking back, and knowing who I am today, which has never changed, like, I have an insatiable curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, I love to learn.
Yeah.
I don't like learning in a structured environment like that. My genetic makeup or whatever it is, it just doesn't work in a structured environment. But if I can learn on my own, and it's something I'm curious about, I will be relentless.
Is that genetic? Because you've poisoned my cup up real bad.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
And because I know that, and not to just jump the gun completely, but I know that you started in those industries and you started building the connections and learning and really building a name for yourself as well. Because there's such a huge chunk of your life that is in the next chapter that I want to get into, and it's the entrepreneur in you and the inventor and creator. When did your life start to switch into that direction?
Well, that was it was right around that time. So I had reached what I felt was potential in that environment with that organization in that industry. The next levels were supervisors and stuff like that, and I'm not a manager. I like just maintaining like so like during that time when I was like doing what I was doing, I was constantly looking at ways to improve process, increase efficiency, productivity, profitability. Like that was just part of my nature. How
Hmm.
can we be more efficient? And so when I realized that I was sort of topped out, um, that's when the internet was starting to come around. And so on night shifts, while I was panel operator, I started teaching myself HTML coding.
There it
And
is.
yeah, and so because I just sort of went, yeah, this internet thing, I think it's going to be around a while.
Can't shake
And
it. Damn thing.
yeah, so this is like 93. And so while on shift, on night shift, everything's operating well. I'm studying books on HTML coding and whatnot. And then I had a computer, and then I'm going, okay, but how do computers work? So then I learned, how do you build a computer? How do you buy the parts and build your own computer and connect to the internet? We had modems and stuff. That's going to be irrelevant to most people. Um, and yeah,
Timestamp.
then I would start. I would go in like on days off. I would go and take courses at NATE, and then come back and go to work and still, teach myself coding at night. And then I started a business on the side where I was building computers and doing small networks. Like I worked for the RCMP up there a little bit for the town of Stony Plain. And then computer games were really coming around. So I would build computers for other operators and friends and started selling them. Um, and then we bought a duplex. So I was, the maintenance guy for that. We ended up buying a house up there. So now I'm running the business, and your mother is working
Doing the
like
thing
a
they called
machine.
raising kids.
But she also worked full time, and she was traveling up north at the same time. Yeah, we were busy trying to make things happen, and then it came to a point where um, we bought a condo in Calgary, and so I started going to SAIT. And so I would commute from Swan Hills to Calgary, like the 6.5 hours or whatever, for my 3 days off. And I went to SAIT and took some basic programming, DOS, and a couple of other courses. And it was getting to the point where I wanted to start my own computer company.
Mm.
So we decided Stony Plain was a nice, because Swan Hills is not a place to raise a family. And and I knew Stony Plain, it's a nice community, it's close to the city. Um, and so I opened Soho Computer Solutions, I started renting an old 1950s house, like just post World War II era house in Stony Plain.
Heritage
Gutted
home,
it,
they call it.
sure. Uh, Gutted it and turned it into a computer store. And then ended up, I opened another one in Drayton Valley, another one in Barhead, another one in Whitecourt. And then, so fast forward, we got 4 kids now. But then I had an idea because we were living rurally. And so I had lots of printing and delivery requirements running the businesses and the different properties. And so I had just went like, there's got to be a better way to distribute documents. So I invented a document management web-enabled document management system, and which was my rambling.
No, it's good. I know listeners won't be able to relate to some of this, so I wanna for you to focus on sort of there's a certain point in your life where you started to think you want to think creatively, uniquely, you want to bring something to a market that you see is an opportunity. And these are uncomfortable moves because it's taking risks. You have a family of 4, you have a wife. Um, and what I am leaning into with this podcast, especially, is you are literally, without being as cheesy as heck, leaving average for Joe. And I think at any point in your life, maybe the risks that you take when you start something of your own or do something that you are curious of venturing into, it might not succeed and it might fail the first time. Was there any moments that caused failure and for you to question your decision making, or was it pretty like calculated investments that you were making?
I No, it wasn't. It wasn't overly calculated. I had a very supportive. Your mother was very supportive, and she understood that, like, who I was. Um, so for me, it was I couldn't not do it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something me going, maybe it might work. It was, I know me, and I want to do this,
Yeah.
and there is a need. There's a market for it. Like, and to some of your audience, like as young dancers or entertainers, or you, you just certain people, it's not an option.
Yeah. I think that you've
Like
just
it,
nailed it, because that's the truth.
yeah, yeah. So that's what it's always been like for me. It was like it was always balls out. This isn't an option. It's not maybe and dip your toe in. It's, I know that I can make this work.
Yeah.
Like and I think if just to come back full circle to like buying an open-ended return ticket overseas at 17 or 18, I just knew myself. Like I knew I would find a way.
And you had support. I mean, you were also the one supporting as well. I couldn't even imagine family of 4 kids that you're raising with your wife, but that to me, because where I'm at in my life, like I'm quarter of the way into, and I don't have any dependents, right? Like sorry, Theodore. Um,
Where
but
is Theo?
yeah, I know. Yeah, that to me is something that I know I'll have to cross that bridge when I get to it. But for me to even fathom or relate is next to impossible. So I tip my hat off to you, because you've been an inspiration and you are an inspiration for me. You've also poisoned me, and I use that term all the time, because honestly, I would not give my motivation and dedication and just pure, I guess, commitment to whatever task I've brought on to anyone. Like I wouldn't give it to my worst enemy, because I think that there is a lot of sacrifices you make when you have this much drive, and I think that there's a lot of benefit that comes from it, but it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And if you've listened to the podcast so far, you know a little bit about my story. And there's been some horror stories, no short of them, but there's been some highlights and some lessons learned. And those you can't put a price tag on, like we mentioned with your travels. Um, and so that's to I guess reason why I wanted you on the podcast is, yes, happy Father's Day and I love you to bits, but honest to God, family aside, like as an individual, the respect I have for you and your journey is unmeasurable. Like I can't even put words to it. And I think because it's also relatable, right? You didn't grow up into a family with money. You didn't
I
have
didn't have a dad.
Yeah, you didn't, to my second point, you didn't have the family structure of any normalcy. Like there was absolutely, like you just said, no father figure. Um, and for you to have taken your deck of cards, um, and play them the way that you have is outstanding. Um, and so happy, happy Father's Day. I kn- I know that there's going to be episodes to come where I hone in on aspects of your life. If you think can reach out to my assistant.
I'll get my
Um,
people to get in touch with your people.
yeah, and we could think about scheduling, dare I say, round two. Because there's so many pockets of your journey that deserve an
Yeah,
entire episode on their own.
we got to
Um,
get to the good stuff at
I
some point.
I know. You're talking about me, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's the
Um,
great stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I'm so
So
very proud of you.
with all of my guests that I have, I always finish with a fire round of questions. I think this is actually one of my favorite parts. Thoughts on, and are you ready? Because I always say this. If you've listened to the podcast, I always go, "Are you ready?" Like as if I'm not going to ask follow-up questions on the fire round of questions that I asked.
Whether
But
you're ready or not,
no, for sure, exactly.
bring
Um,
it.
thoughts on ayahuasca?
Um, I think I think it's for the right person in the right circumstances. Why not? Based on what I've heard, I it can be traumatizing or it can be amazing. I think I would do it in a heartbeat.
You think?
Yep. Yeah, I think I would if I could be in a safe space with a qualified shaman or whatever that is somewhere in the jungle. That's where I'd want to do it. I wouldn't want to do it in some office somewhere like on a DMT trip or drip or anything like that. But
Okay,
if
I'm
I
sending
could,
you a link because we're doing it together.
okay,
If you were given a
you
chance to explore the ocean or space, which would you choose?
ocean. We know more about this about space than we do about our own ocean.
What futuristic invention do you wish existed right now?
Oh, hoverboard. Absolutely. Right? Like I could never skateboard and I never even tried. Like not to say I didn't try. I tried and went, "No, this is not for me."
This doesn't
But
feel right.
I think I could do hoverboard.
The audacity. If you could witness any historical event, what would you choose?
Oh, I would want to be on Napoleon's coattails for his entire tour. Like beginning to end, I would want to sit on Napoleon's or Alexander the Great's coattails. Like just to be a part of that process.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I can see that. If you could have a deep conversation with any historical figure or fictional character, who would it be?
I think Daffy Duck.
Get off your high horse.
Honestly, I like he to me was always like he was like a little sideways, but there was also something deep to him. There was something to be learned there about the way he dealt with the world. And I could never master his accent. And as you know, I'm no
Don't
master
do
at
it. Don't
accents.
don't do it. Okay, last but not least, any I want you to leave
You want me to leave?
I want you to leave.
Time will make that wish come true.
Current sort of baffling things that are causing you, I don't dare I say to lose sleep, no, but things that are on your mind as of late.
Things that are on my mind.
Topic in the markets or inventions to come or things you're working on. If there's an interest or an topic that is just sort of leaving you thinking.
Yeah, I would say I'm 56 years old, and I'm I'm struggling creatively.
Mm,
And uh, and when I say, and I should put context around that, there are projects I want to do with regards to stone carving and sculpture that my body won't allow me to do. So I've hit this sort of wall where I'm going, okay, but so how do I still channel that creativity and find a way to still create? And so because I'm dealing with the aging process, while my brain is still going, this is what we want to do, and my body's going, but that's expensive,
mm.
pain and wise. So I'm trying to figure out how to make the aging process and the creative process still keep moving forward together in some way. And I'm doing that by trying to stay as healthy as possible. And it's coming together, but that's the biggest thing. Is that sort of what you were looking for? Or are you looking for?
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
Because I think if anyone gets to any point in their life where they're not puzzled by something, get puzzled.
Oh yeah, if you're not puzzled, you're lazy.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm your daughter. Okay, and I know I said last one, but this is truly the last one. If you had any advice, recommendations, for the younger generation, and I guess maybe to relate to you for those that are the adolescents in your life, I guess, what would you say to them?
what would I say?
You know.
I would say I'm trying not to come up with anything cliche, although the reason cliches are cliches is because
They've been
they're
tested.
relevant.
Hmm.
They're relevant, and it's like that. I just so desperately want to say live, love, laugh, but that's not going to happen.
Did you want that
So
on a shirt like tomorrow or
exactly.
just yeah.
No, I would say if you're stay curious, and if you stay curious, you'll eventually find something that keeps you up at night,
Hmm.
and it's something that wakes you up in the morning, and you can't get it out of your brain, and you can't shake it. Um, and if that happens to you for and I'm not talking about a video game or a really good new album. I'm talking about something that, and it whether it's anthropology or it's uh, you know finger painting. I
Hmm.
don't care what it is, but if you're truly infatuated, then chase that down. And when I say chase it down, I mean not at the complete disregard for every other part of your life, but chase it down so that you can fill that void, that curiosity and that insatiable desire to find out whether it's you're dancing or whether you're singing or whether you want to be a race car driver or whether you want to be a teacher.
Hmm.
Like it's when you start to fill in that void, it fills your life up and it allows you to fill others' lives up. Um, but if you're in any way subjugated or suppressed, and you think I'm not supposed to do this, this isn't what my parents or society thinks I should be doing, my social group, whatever that is, find a way to, and maybe not do it all at once, but find a way to continuously feed that curiosity and that passion.
Yeah, I like that. Well, Dad, happy Father's Day. This has been an enjoyable, memorable experience for me. And like I said, I'll CC you on the email, but I'm definitely going to reach out to your assistant so we can do a follow up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've actually moved to an AI assistant now, so I'll make sure you're not filtered out.
Love you to bits.
Love you, Dots.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Well, that's a wrap on episode 7. Episode 7 of Briggs & Co. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. I hope that each one you can pull some inspiration and relate to certain components of each and every episode. It's an absolute pleasure of mine to get to chat with all of these experts and figures who are doing some incredible work around the world. Next week, I have the incredible Billy Mustafa, who just booked a major job that I don't think I'm allowed to say, so I'm not even going to open my lips up to it, but y'all are going to know real soon what that is. So stay tuned for another episode of Briggs & Co. next week. Y'all, you can reach me at briggs.gibbons@gmail.com. You can reach me on Instagram at Briggs_and_co. Please send me your love, send me feedback. Anything and everything always helps to make this podcast better and resourceful for all of the up and coming, and also just those interested in learning more about high performers in this entertainment industry. This was a blast. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, everyone.